Yichi here, big update. Excuse the emptiness, we just finally moved into our house. I promise I'll give you guys a tour once we've fully Marie-Kondoed the house. For those of you that haven't watched my previous video on pre-construction homes, you'll know that I bought a pre-construction house in 2020 and they never really started construction. So once we got our mutual release and our money back, we went shopping. The only difference was when I bought the house in 2020, I was a salaried software engineer making pretty decent money and banks were willing to loan me money for a mortgage. Once I had switched careers at the beginning of 2023, that wasn't the case anymore. I was a brand new agent, hadn't made any income on paper, and I was getting commission. So banks were willing to give me nothing, zero, right? So needless to say, our budget was a lot lower when we went shopping for our new house. So our budget was $600,000 and we were looking at the beginning of Q1 2023. And at that time, and it's still the case, with a budget of $600,000, you're mostly gonna get condo apartments, or you're gonna get homes way up north near the Arctic, near Russian territory. So for us, it didn't really make sense to move from a condo when we were living in downtown Toronto to another condo apartment. Although we did see some that we almost put an offer on that we really liked, but ultimately we didn't, and we kept on waiting and looking because you don't want to rush the buying process, right? It's our house, you're going to live on it for at least a couple of years. So we waited. So what I had done is I set up an auto email, and that's basically the Toronto Real Estate Board MLS system will automatically send you an email if it meets certain criteria. So for this case, it was a house under 600K. So it sent daily emails to me, my girlfriend Ashley, and my mom. And this house that we're currently living in popped up. I didn't see it, I was busy. My girlfriend Ashley, she was working, she didn't see it. But luckily my mom had her third eye, her pineal gland open, and she saw it. So she texted me right away and said, hey, this might be perfect. And it was. This house, 1,300 square foot, 2 full stories in a great neighborhood, 2 balconies, and even a 3rd entry-level story. So we loved it. It was priced at $579K. So it was listed that morning, and we had booked a showing literally that night. And on the way there, I even drafted the offer before even seeing it, because I knew it was a house that we had loved, and even got my managing broker to review it, the offer that we made, before we even saw the house. So once we saw the house, we made sure that it was in a good neighborhood. We drove around, make sure that there was places for the dog to play and potty outside, and make sure that the house was good. We put in the offer officially right after we saw the house at like 10 p.m. And speed is key in real estate. I can't emphasize that enough. Speed is genuinely key. And the fact that we put in an offer on the first day was one of the reasons why we ended up getting the house. Now, we gave them an irrevocable time of 24 hours, and that basically just means after the 24 hours, our offer is null and void. It no longer counts. So the seller basically has 24 hours to decide. And the listing agent was basically like, hey, the seller's busy. Can you give us another 24 hours, right? Because we got in the first day and gave them 24 hours. We kind of wanted to push it a little bit. And you know what? We knew it was a tactic on their end to sort of get more buyers through, to get another offer or 2 in, but it's okay. I mean, fair enough. It's how the game is played. So, and we didn't want to upset the seller. So we gave them another 24 hours. So we waited for another day. And on the second day of putting in that offer, they got another offer. And I don't blame them. It's a beautiful house at a reasonable price. So this is always a tricky situation, right? It's like, how much do you want to pay for the house? You don't want to overpay, obviously, and you don't want to underpay because you don't want to lose out on the house. So it's really important to sit down and be like, what is your walking away price? What's your max budget? And how much are you willing to pay without it getting, without you feeling buyer's remorse after you bought it? And for us, that price was $600,000. That was our budget. We were willing to pay $600,000 for this house, but we didn't offer that with our second offer. We offered $585,000. So initially we offered $561,000, we offered $585,000 for a $24,000 increase, which is pretty significant because we really wanted the house, but also below our budget and below our max price. Luckily, that price was high enough for us to get the best offer, But hypothetically, in an alternate universe, if the other offer also went up, we would have been willing to go up to 600. So it's really important when you're buying to know, okay, what is the walk away price for me, right? And then the seller just had one more condition. He was moving into another house which wasn't ready, so he wanted another 30 days on the closing date. We gave him that, no problem. We'll enjoy downtown Toronto for another month. And once we gave them another 30 days, the deal was done. And 90 days later, here we are. Now, I've lived in a house my whole life, but I knew nothing about buying a house, the costs that people don't really tell you about, outside of the mortgage, outside of the principal, the down payment, the deposit, all that stuff. There are costs associated with closing. The biggest one is the land transfer tax. Yes, the government gets involved and takes a tax when you transfer title of a house. So it's a tiered system in Ontario. For a $585,000 house, we ended up paying 8.1K, which is not bad at all. We got a first-time home buyers rebate of $4,000, so our total land transfer tax is 4.1K. Because Stouffville, which the house is currently located in, it's always going to be located in Stouffville, we don't have to pay land transfer tax to the city of Toronto. If you buy in Toronto, you got to pay the land transfer tax twice. So luckily, we just had to pay it once for a total cost of 4.1K after our rebate. There are also legal fees. So the lawyers get involved. They handle for us the status certificate review. They handled the co-ownership agreement, the title transfer, all of that stuff. And that total cost was around 1.5, 2.5K if you count the co-ownership. So our total closing costs were around $6,000. Not bad at all. Now these closing costs, the land transfer tax, all of this stuff, it's all adjusted at the time of closing when all of the money is moved around. So for example, there are condo fees, there's hydro bills, right? And if your hydro is at the 1st of the month and you move in on the 9th, which is the day we move in, the seller has already paid for the first 9 days. So that gets moved, those 9 days gets prorated into the statement of adjustments. Same with the condo fees, same with any like hot water rental or anything like that. All of that gets calculated by the lawyer. So you have your original price minus your deposit, minus any adjustments, minus your land plus your land transfer tax. And then you basically get a bill at the end. Let's call it 600K. Your mortgage will cover some of that. Your deposit will cover some of that. Any other cash you want to put down will cover some of that. So basically, yeah, it's pretty crazy, the process of home ownership. It's like, you know, you make a few phone calls, you look at some houses, you press some buttons on your phone, move some integers around in some databases, and then boom, you get the keys and you move into a house. It's a pretty crazy process, but it was a heck of a ride. And that's it for this video. You know, we had originally bought our house in 2020 thinking we were going to move in 2021. I knew nothing about real estate at that point. I was still coding, didn't have my license. And now 3 long years later, we finally moved into our house, and it was definitely worth the wait because now our mortgage payments are lower. We didn't end up buying at the peak of the market when all that crazy COVID stuff happened. And you know, it feels like I'm talking, you know, when in the Matrix, when Neo enters that white room with Morpheus, it's kind of what this room feels like right now. But don't worry, we will get it